Yo, what is going on, everybody? My name is Anthony, and this is my channel, Child of the Corn. Today is finally the day I'm finally putting out a movie review video on the channel. As you can see with the attire that I'm wearing tonight, I'm going to be doing my personal favorite top 10 list of horror films with a winter slash snowy setting. So, just a little background, real quick. Yeah, this idea came to my mind a couple weeks ago. I was watching a few new winter setting horror films, and the great thing about streaming platforms, you watch one, they kind of show you some related films, and so it just kind of snowballed into this. Me watching all of these winter setting horror films, and so it's been great. Honestly, I think the setting is very underrated. It's a crazy balance because you have like the beauty and mystique of the snow or the winter setting, but then you also have like the isolation and dread that also comes with it in these films. And I think it's just like it's honestly a perfect balance. It's when we think of winter, we think of the holidays and just everything's happy and stuff like that. So, just to clarify real quick, some of these do have a little bit of some elements of the holidays in there, but I thought more so that these were films that kind of were just more of a winter setting, more so than a holiday film. I will be doing a top 10 list on holiday horror, hopefully in the next couple weeks. So that's kind of why I wanted to start out with this one first. And just so everybody knows, I'm just going to go over these movies briefly. Won't have any spoilers or anything because, honestly, I hope, a few of these are some movies that maybe you guys haven't seen and you definitely go and check out. So, yeah. Alrighty, kicking off the list at number 10, we have 2017's Lake Alice. Lake Alice is pretty much just your standard slasher with a blend of home invasion, I guess you would say. It tells the story of the Thomas family who's going to spend the holidays in their cabin in the small Wisconsin town. Pretty much their daughter is bringing her new boyfriend to meet her parents for the first time, and throughout the movie, he ends up proposing to Sarah, and so you get the feeling that he's just trying to prove his worth to her parents, especially her dad. He's kind of old school, and he's just trying to prove his worth. So while they're in town, they meet up with some old, friends, people they haven't seen in a long time. And one of the nights right before a big blizzard, they start, getting harassed, and pretty much the family starts getting picked off one by one. um, Throughout this whole thing, you get to see who the main antagonist is, and it's kind of a blend between like the slasher in Cry Wolf and also the slasher in Urban Legend. So if you're fans of those movies, I think you'd like this one a lot. I think it has a good twist ending, almost some elements of kind of references to Scream, also the original. So yeah, it has actually a really good twist ending, and I would say I would probably give this movie at least an 8 out of 10. Yeah, probably for sure. Alrighty, at number nine, we have 2016's Attack of the Lederhosen Zombies. This is an Austrian horror comedy that I actually found on Peacock a couple weeks ago. First time watch, I was pretty much totally blown away by the awesome zombie makeup, practicals. It's honestly just a freaking joyride. It honestly is. It's pretty much a story about three friends who are trying to get a snowboarding endorsement with a certain company. Doesn't seem to pan out. They get stuck up on the mountain, and one guy gets sick, starts turning everybody, or starts, I guess, would you say, infecting everybody up on the mountain while they're staying up there that night. And so these three friends are pretty much trying to survive the night and try to get down the mountain, pretty much. So yeah, it's pretty much just a ride. It's crazy. It's total fun. It has very good like 80s flavor to it. It has awesome like neon cinematography with like a real synthy like just throwback 80s score. Honestly, it's really cool. It's one of the most different zombie films that I've ever seen, but man, it's a fun ride. It definitely is. So I would definitely say that I'd give this film also an 8 out of 10, and yeah, definitely something you guys should check out. Alrighty, at number eight we have 2020's The Wolf of Snow Hollow. This is a horror comedy directed by Jim Cummings, who actually performs as the main character, John Marshall, within the film. It's kind of your standard werewolf film. Great references to a lot of other werewolf films, but the cinematography is excellent, and it just tells a really cool little story. Um, John is pretty much running this police department. His dad is, about to retire and is still within the police department. And he's dealing with things with his ex wife, and his daughter's going off to college the next year. So he's just juggling like a lot of things throughout the film. And it's quite funny. I'm not going to lie. But it definitely, it doesn't lack in any of the gore, the practicals, and, all that stuff is just really strong in this film. The werewolf looks really really cool, and yeah, it has a really good twist ending. You're thinking it's one thing, and then it turns out to be the other, and it's a really good ending. And I think it is at a whopping 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. Well deserved. Like, this film is just, it took me by surprise. It really honestly did. It's just, it's a really good balance of, like I said, horror and comedy. So definitely one that you guys should go check out. And honestly, I'm going to stay on board with Rotten Tomatoes and give this film a 9 out of 10 for sure. Alrighty. At number 7, we have 2009's Orphan. Um, what else is there to say about this film? This film is easily one of the best horror films that came out through the 2000s, and it's just a roller coaster ride of mystery and just reveal, and I think the reveal is something probably one of the best of the last maybe decade or 25 years. Like, it's just an awesome reveal of you know this storyline that's being built throughout the film. And you have your main antagonist Esther, played by Isabel Furman, and then you have the main antagonist Kate, who is played by Vera Farmiga, who is most notably from the Conjuring franchise. I think back in the day, this was probably the first film that I actually saw her in. So the storyline is just insanely good. This is the same director that did 2005's House of Wax remake. So the cinematography is just next level good. And it's just very eerie. The reveal is just, it's so good. It's just something very unexpected. You know I have it a little bit higher on this list just because it does have very good, it does have a very good winter setting to it. To me, I feel like some of these other films just embrace that maybe a little bit more than this film, but it really does have, like, the cinematography. It's a beautiful film, with just bonkers storyline. I felt like the marketing for this film was just kind of like, oh, you have this girl that gets adopted, and then she just kind of goes crazy. Well, I mean, the storyline is just way more than that. So I'm pretty sure most people probably watching this video have probably seen this movie already, but if you have not, I definitely recommend this film. And I'm easily going to give this film a 9 out of 10. Well deserved. It was definitely one of those movies back in the day when you first watched it, you were just like, wow, like, this is just a one of a kind film. So, uh, alrighty, at number 6, we have 2021's Werewolves Within. To me, this one very much rivals the last one, The Wolf of Snow Hollow. They are both horror comedies. Excellent, werewolf references. The storylines are just excellent. The cinematography, next level good. Two, big cast members. You have Sam Richardson, who plays, I guess you would say, the wildlife ranger, Finn, and then you also have Milana Van Troob, who's most notably from the AT&T commercials. But she is excellent in this movie. The whole cast is in this film. It's just awesome. It's pretty much Finn moves to this new town of Beaverfield, and he the this big blizzard happens. The town gets closed off. But you start to figure out that the werewolf is actually sabotaging the town and making it so nobody can get out or come in. So They all get, pretty much lodged up at this, kind of bed and breakfast place there in town, and they're all kind of stuck, and then they're all kind of going at each other's throats. And it's just a really cool, dialogue between all of the characters and everything. It's a really fun, again, funny, and also, really like good horror, elements though also, and the ending is very good. The reveal is awesome. And it's just a fun movie, but it's just a beautiful movie. Like, honestly, I think out of this whole list, maybe except, for the exception of maybe the top three, this film has just excellent cinematography when it comes to the winter setting, the snowfall, it looks beautiful throughout the whole movie. So this is another one that I highly recommend everybody go check out. And I'm also going to give this movie a 9 out of 10 for sure. Alrighty, at number five, we have the 2006 Norwegian slasher Cold Prey. For me personally, this film fell under my radar back in the day. I'm not really for sure why, but I loved the remake craze that was happening at the time in the 2000s. With House of Wax, Halloween, Friday the 13th. All of those great films. And yeah, for some odd reason, this movie just I just never got around to seeing it. But really glad that I did. First time a couple weeks ago, I finally watched it, and yeah, it just has that awesome like 2000s vibe. That gritty, ballsiness to it. And it has great gore, and just awesome slasher references. A little bit of CGI here and there. A product of its time, but not too over the top. And yeah, the antagonist has a really cool look to him, something definitely different from the rest. And yeah, it's pretty much about five friends going up to the mountains, skiing and snowboarding. They get caught up on the mountain after one of them gets hurt. They seek shelter in this abandoned lodge. Well, it turns out that the lodge isn't abandoned, and this antagonist or the slasher's been living up there, by himself, and pretty much starts picking them off one by one. And yeah, it's just a pretty crazy, just gritty slasher. And if you're a fan of slashers, which I definitely am, I think you'll appreciate this film like a lot. I love that 2000s era. I just love most horror movies that came out during that time. And a lot of nostalgia. So again, it's just another product of that time, and I dig it a lot. It's a really cool concept. So I would definitely say that I'm going to give this movie also a 9 out of 10, and definitely something I'm going to be watching a lot more, years to come for sure. Alrighty, at number four, we have 2001's Shredder. Now, right off the bat, I'm just going to admit this film has become easily one of my favorite guilty pleasures, possibly of all time, uh, especially in this slasher subgenre for sure. To me, this slasher, it has like that same formula and blueprint that a lot of those old school slashers before it, had. It's got nudity, drug use, just really good kills and creative kills, and it's just a really cool concept, honestly. Pretty much it tells a story of these friends that all get together. They're going to go up to this ski resort that one of the actresses, her family apparently is trying to see if they want to purchase and open back up. So they go up to the ski resort. Then there's a story that's told where there was a big accident that happened, and that was the reason why it shut down. And that plays a huge part into the storyline. The reveal and just like everything. And yeah, this film is just really fun. For what it lacks maybe in storyline and production value. It just kind of makes up with just having a good time, and just kind of a fun who done it. You know what I mean? One of the main actors, actually, Cole, he's actually played by Scott Wanger, I think it is, or one of the two, who is actually the voice actor for Aladdin. So that was pretty cool. And I actually noticed that like right off the bat. I'm like, where do I know that voice from? So yeah, it's just a fun slasher. It's cool because it takes place up on the mountain and everything, and again, it really emphasizes that winter setting and everything. So yeah, definitely check this one out. I'm probably not going to rate this one as high as some of the last ones I just went over. So I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10, but still very, very fun. Definite, pretty much the definition of guilty pleasure for sure. Alrighty. At number three, we have 2007's 30 Days of Nights. Now, this film was directed by David Slade, who recently this year just came out with a new film called Dark Harvest, which personally was my second favorite horror film of the year. So it's nice to see, that he's pretty much still killing it in the genre. But back in the day, this movie just totally blew me away. Vampires in Alaska. I mean, like, what a crazy concept. I do believe that the concept might have been brought or taken from a comic book miniseries. Regardless, this dude just absolute slam dunk. With this film. Some of the main actors you have Josh Hartnett, who plays a police officer, in this small Alaskan town, and they're about to hit this, 30-day period of just where there's not going to be any sun or anything. So then you have this stranger, coming into their town, and played by Ben Foster, and he kind of starts sabotaging the town, making it so they can't pretty much get out at all. And then, as they kind of, arrest him and butt heads, he kind of tells them, hey, something's coming. You don't know what's coming. And slowly but surely, then you find out that, these vampires are just coming in here and just slitting throats and just fucking just taking over the town, killing off everybody. And it's just crazy. So, they try to, wait out the time period, and try to hide. And it, then becomes hard because then, the vampires are smart, they're going to burn down the town and just, it's insane. And, at the end, Josh Hartnett is trying to save, I think it's maybe like his ex-girlfriend, ex-wife. I actually think it is his ex-wife or, um, and so he pretty much injects himself with some of the contaminated, vampire blood, and becomes a vampire. Kills off the head vampire, and you know, just a gritty, just hardcore, action filled, balls to the wall kind of vampire film. Like it's so crazy. The ending's really good. The cinematography is just fantastic. The vampires look really good. It kind of reminds me very much like John Carpenter's 1998 Vampires. A little bit, but with just kind of a little bit more of that new style, of that 2000s era. But not a lot of CGI, which was awesome. But a little bit here and there. But yeah, just a crazy, crazy good, film. Um, Definitely one of my favorites of the decade for sure. And so I have to give this movie so badly. I want to almost give it a 10 out of 10, but I'll keep it at a 9 out of 10 for sure. And yeah, if you guys haven't checked it out, definitely something. For me, I think it's definitely a top five vampire film of all time for sure. So check it out. Alrighty, coming in at number two, we have 1980's The Shining, directed by the famous Stanley Kubrick, based on the famous novel by Stephen King. We kind of know the whole history behind, maybe Stephen King not liking the film so much, it kind of not being really so much like the book, or the novel. But you know, what else can you say? Stanley Kubrick just absolutely, just smashed this film. The psychological horror that's present in this film is just top notch, top tier. The performance by Jack Nicholson is, maybe possibly regarded as one of the best, of the genre, of all time. I mean, it's just crazy how well he performs the role, of Jack Torrance. Like it's absolutely insane. Shelley Duvall does an absolutely great job in her role too, as Wendy. We know kind of the history of all the turmoil that she kind of went through, when they were, filming this film, unfortunately. And then their son Danny, does an excellent job, and it's obviously just pretty much a story about a family going up to kind of look over, or look after a hotel, during the off season. And, slowly but surely, Danny kind of has like these, uh, I guess you would say psychic, powers. And he can kind of, see ghosts and kind of, see, pretty much that his father's pretty much going mad, I guess you would say. And yeah, it's just a crazy film. It's such a psychological thriller. And I would definitely say that, a lot of people say that maybe it is more thriller than horror, but I would definitely say it's more horror than anything. It just it's such a great movie that it hits all of those different genres all together. It's kind of almost like Jaws. You know what I mean? And you know, it's really what struck me is that yeah, the movie's not overall that scary of a film. I remember growing up and watching it and not really being that scared. Maybe for the exception of the bathroom scene, where Jack's just going nuts, and kind of comes through with the signature quote, here's Johnny, just epically good, legendary. um And I think one of the greatest things, maybe two greatest things about this film, though, is to me, the score is just absolutely excellent. The tone of the film, it's so important. It's so important to just the legacy of this film. Um, but honestly, I think this film could maybe possibly be like a top five, one of the most beautiful films that you'll ever watch. Like, I recently got the 4K release, last year, and it's just all the geometric shapes and the way that Kubrick, his transitions and just his shots. It's a 10 out of 10. I mean, it's the film is just it's absolutely legendary. And it took me a while to actually like see all of those like little elements of the film that actually that make it just absolutely great. Again, it's not super scary, but it's just the story that's being told and the performances by the cast. It's so well done. It's probably close to almost a perfect film. So yeah. At number two, I got The Shining, and I have it at a 10 out of 10 for sure. And at number one, surprise, surprise, if you know me pretty well, we have 1982's The Thing, directed by legendary director John Carpenter. This film is pretty much the epitome of a horror film with a winter setting. Personally, I believe that this film is a 10 out of 10. It's a perfect film. It's a masterclass in practical effects and makeup, which were done by Rob Bottin in this film, most notably for his work in The Fog and The Howling. It's crazy actually to think about the history of this film. Pretty much, it came out in 1982 and was not regarded very well at all. Kind of a slap to the face of John Carpenter at the time. A lot of people believe that at the time E.T. came out the same year, and people were much more friendly with this friendly neighborhood extraterrestrial ET than they were with this just crazy, just gory, body gore, just kind of alien film. I don't think people were quite ready for it unless you were a super fan of the genre, pretty much. But the story it tells is just it's so crazy good. It's just it's an pretty much a who done it, obviously. You have this animal that comes up on their camp that's being attacked by two other people that they don't know what is going on, and going deeper into the search to find out what's going on. You have a legendary performance of Kurt Russell as McCready, kind of the head of this camp, of these I guess you would say government workers doing tests out there pretty much in remote Antarctica. And so they tried to discover what was going on and why these people were trying to attack this dog. They find out that these Norwegians actually discovered an alien spacecraft and, possibly might have come in contact with an alien being. Um, but as the movie goes along, and you can see, in their camp when they come back, that something's wrong. The dog that was supposed to be a dog turns out to be an alien. Tries to absorb these other dogs and all this stuff, and then you have one of the main scientists believe that, hey, I think that this being or whatever was trying to absorb these dogs and trying to replicate this. And I mean, what a storyline. And then he's thinking, hey, if they can do this with a dog, why couldn't they do this with a human? So by that time, by the time they discovered that this is what it could possibly do, or what could happen, it's pretty much already too late, and the camps are already infected with this alien being. And I mean, it's just a roller coaster ride of just, trying to find out who's human and who's not. And it's just, the alien throughout the camp is trying to sabotage this whole thing and trying to keep its, detection down. And it's just such a great horror film. But to think about how it wasn't very well regarded at first, and now, to think it's like possibly one of the best horror films to ever be made is it's such an awesome thing because I think people just, when they watched this film for the first time, it took me a while to even realize that it was a remake, and I respect John Carpenter because I know he said that, taking on this, concept, the film was already very legendary to begin with. So he wanted to make sure that, he, left his stamp on this film and on this franchise, and I mean, it's easy to say that he obviously did. For me personally, like this film is just absolutely perfect. It's, a top five, top three, depending on what day it is, horror film of all time for myself. McCready, Kurt Russell as McCready. I mean, he's probably literally one of my favorite horror characters. And not, I mean, maybe even might be my favorite horror character of all time, again, depending on the day. But this movie is just, it's body horror and body gore to the absolute limits. It's something that was so ahead of its time, and it's something that was a pure product of the 80s and of the time. I mean, when you talk about 80s horror, I mean, this movie is just talked about like because of just the practicals and just like what they were able to accomplish with this film. It's legendary. It is just honestly just as legendary as it comes. You know, just not even just the alien genre in general. It's just it's the masterclass of horror. Any decades out there. I mean, it's just as much as we love The Shining, I think this film to me is just a little bit better, something a little bit different. But again, both of them are really good. But I had to choose this one because again, this film is just one of my absolute favorites of all time. And I'm just anybody out there that has not watched this film, please do so. I will say that I actually didn't hate the remake. I actually thought it was pretty good prequel, but it's a tale of two different stories. You have the awesome practicals of the 80s, then you have the CGI of the time in the 2000, I think 2011. It's just two totally different times, but I thought the storyline in the remake was really good, so I appreciate the film. But yeah, the 1980s version, just again, masterclass of horror. So very much applaud John Carpenter, Kurt Russell in the cast, and obviously Rob Bottin for his work in this film. So for my number one, we have The Thing in an absolute 10 out of 10. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. Well, if you're still here at the end of this video, I truly am grateful for your time and truly appreciate it. Super fun list, super great topic. It only seemed fitting with it being December and everything. And trust me, I will be trying to work on some more lists coming up. I think holiday horror will probably be my next list, whether that be a top five or top 10. I think I'm going to let you guys maybe decide. Hopefully this video wasn't too long. If it was, leave me some pointers and some comments down below. Also leave me some comments, maybe on your guys's, some of your guys' favorite, winter setting, horror films and stuff. I always love to, hear opinions on, other people's favorites and stuff. So again, I might not, I might have left some out, and so if I did, let me know and I'll try to watch those films, in my free time. So again, appreciate you guys' time so very much. If you want to hit that like button and you enjoyed the video, truly appreciate it. If you're new to the channel and you want to subscribe and also like the video, truly appreciate that too, very very much. So again, thank you guys. I will see you on the next one, and until then, peace.